So my name is François Scharffe, and I'm an ontology scientist at Dextro. We are a young startup, and I will put a video because it talks pretty much for itself. Based in New York, we're 11, and we're doing video analysis, annotation, tagging based on machine learning. Especially we use deep learning, so we heard these words today. So, well, based on many of the talks, I see that what we're doing is quite relevant at the time, and I'm very happy. So what are we doing? We have an API, and in input we take a video, and in output we be outputting concepts and on a timeline about visual things happening in the video. We also output a transcript of the video. So our concepts are visual concepts, but we also focus on actions, and then more recently we started to work on high-level topics for video, and we use IPTC topic classification for that, which is why I'm here. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. So yeah, the goal is to make video searchable, discoverable, and actionable by indexing it. We are mainly working with medias, but we saw a lot of interest recently in the security world, so home security, but also police body cams that start to develop pretty widely in the US. So as I said earlier, we output these timelines that you can see at the bottom where the objects are appearing at the time they are appearing. So now let's say some words about how is that working. I won't go into the details of the deep learning system and the models we're using, but apart from that, which is a core technology, our contribution is to enable industrialization of this process of learning new concepts, because what we found out is that different customers have different requirements, and they are interested in seeing different things in a video. There are things we can detect that customers are not interested in, and there are things that they would be interested in that we cannot detect. So we have built a system that is able, based on some customer data and metadata, to go and fetch new data to train the concepts, so kind of on demand. So we have this human in the loop, where the data is arriving, it is passed to the models that classify it and will output some concepts. And then there will be a human verification that will say, okay, this is in accordance to what we expect, or we are missing this and that. And then there's a system, a supervisor, that then, based on that verification, goes on the web and then fetch some more data for the concept that do not perform well enough. And so all this is controlled by a visual ontology, which will kind of guide the process of fetching this data according to taxonomy and what the customer has required. So now So, well, I've been talking about that. So the classical approach was to first define a taxonomy, collect the data, and then train a model for that. And then we have this more dynamic approach where we are able to take more data and dynamically fetch this data to update our model, basically. So now let's talk about more the metadata side of the story. So when I joined, we had this big list of tags that was semi-automatically constructed, and a lot of them were relevant, but a lot of them were not relevant at all. So not everything was a visual thing, so that they would not be able to be detected, like darkness or love. thing that you can expect if you automatically get some tags from DBpedia. So we had to structure that, and so we built this ontology. So yeah, maybe some more about the motivation. Yeah, we had to structure that, but we also had to be able to have not only tags but concepts that are related to standard referentials and knowledge bases, so we can use that as an integration point for our customers' metadata as well. Okay, so the ontology brings us that and more. So we have now this visual concept ontology with more than 6,000 visual concepts, including actions, and we have a full mapping to Wikidata, and so through Wikidata to other referentials like DBpedia, Wikipedia, Library of Congress, subjects heading, you name it. You probably have heard about Wikidata and how it serves as an integration point on the web of data. And recently we've been developing this topics taxonomy based on IPTC media topics, so over 1,500 topics. And partial mapping to IAB, which is a referential in the advertising world. So not all of these concepts have a model trained for, or a sufficiently well-performing model trained for, but they are here to guide this training process, where if we get some requirements from a customer, or if we get some annotations during the validation process, and then that one concepts come again and again, then the system will go and then try to fetch some training data for that concept to train it, and then it will be at some point validated and then returned by the API. Here is a visualization of the visual ontology. So on the left, this is the food concept and all its subclasses, and on the right, the sports concept and all its subclasses. I also wanted to show the topics taxonomy. So if you're familiar with IPTC's news classification, you will recognize some of these things. So if we go, for example, in sports here, this is quite slow.
Right. You see big segment of
etc., etc. So, so we've been starting training a classifier for these high-level topics that also return. So for a video, we tell you, is it a weather news video? Is it a U.S. news video? Is it a celebrities videos, etc.?
You do this based on the entities which you work with?
We use the last layer of the deep learning architecture, the neural network, before the classification is actually done, so we have a more precise embedding to do that. I'm working on that, so I'm glad to discuss that with you. More details.
You cannot recognize unless you know that this is actually celebrity, right?
So there are different clues. There are dresses, there are flashes, exactly,
okay.
photographers.
I'm not from that business, yeah.
Well, so we also use transcripts. So we're still testing what does work best. But we use transcripts, and this is celebrities is actually a category when you can imagine that the transcript will help, the entities in the transcript will help finding that this is about something fancy. Okay.
So, am I allowed to ask a question? Visual concepts, are that concepts which can be seen or used
yes.
with visual content?
They are concepts that can be seen. Yeah, that's our current definition of it. And when we say visual ontology as well, we're trying to structure the hierarchy in terms of visual. So, so that a subclass of something is that something that visually integrates the other in it. Okay, so an arm is a subclass of a person. Okay, according to our definition. So we're still working on that to try to refine that and what it means, but that's our current approach.
Are you developing this ontology?
Yes.
You didn't take one.
So we started, okay, here, thank you for the transition. So here's an example of a concept. So I said we have a full Wikidata mapping. So all entities are based on Wikidata, and we're using Wikidata information to provide description for the concepts, label, and we're especially interested in the multilingual aspect of Wikidata, so we can return information in different languages. What else is there to see? So different statuses, images, so annotation. So in this validation process, we present users with information for each concept, so they can disambiguate between different concepts and then say get what is correct or not.
Yes, but there are the 512 tracked concepts, the visual concepts, the standard concepts. You don't refer to this?
Can you repeat, please?
So TrackWit, they have standardized this concepts, visual concepts. They have 512 concepts.
TrackWit, yeah. So it's an academy data set, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
you
right.
refer to this, or you have your own here?
Right. So we have ingested this data set as part of our training process. We do not explicitly refer to it.
Okay.
I'm interested to take a look. And so finally, so we recently worked on this topic annotation case study with a major American media company, where more than a timeline with concepts, we also output these high-level categories, topics from IPTC. That's it, so I'm open to questions now with the panel.
Yeah, I think we're